welcome to the Arena Hero. This is David from Unison Games Cafe. You are watching this video because you are either a loyal subscriber to our YouTube channel, of which we thank you, or you scanned the QR code on the custom starter deck right here on the back. Either way, this video is meant to inform you of this deck's contents, some strategy on how to play it, and ways to upgrade it with cards you've purchased from your local game store or from your collection. In this video, we will be discussing the Guardian class. As you can see here, this is Bravo Showstopper of the Guardian class. More so, this video will be a great resource to those who are looking into some insight on how to play the Guardian class, how they function, and some strategies you can take advantage of. Without further ado, let's open this up and get started. Alright, when you open up your custom starter deck, you will be presented in this team bag with your ready-to-play constructed deck. That means it's a 60-card deck, plus your hero, your weapon, your equipment that you have available to you. That's in the team bag. The cards that aren't in the bag are the rest of your common play set for the Guardian class from Welcome to Wraith. Let's take a look at the contents of your constructed deck. Alright, as you guys can see splayed out before me, here are the contents of your constructed deck from the starter. A lot of stuff to focus on, but we're going to start by focusing on the actual hero that you'll be playing, and that is Bravo Showstopper. So, the Guardian, their keyword that they focus on is Crush, and to a certain extent, Dominate. A lot of the cards that you play, here's one of the rares, for example, Disable, has a Crush keyword. Anytime that you see Crush, what that's telling you is that if this deals 4 or more damage to your opponent, something cool is going to happen, and every card is different. So you guys can look at those on your own, or we might touch on some at later parts in this video. But Bravo Showstopper, his main ability here is to give cards that cost 3 resources or greater Dominate, and that action would cost you 2. You get Go again. So what he's trying to do is he's really trying to push damage. So a lot of the Guardian cards you'll notice have really high damages, just like the Brute. Things like 9, 8. His specialization is an 11 damage card. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a situation for your opponent. I'll give you one of the comments here, Buckling Blow, for example. Comes in for 8 damage, and it has a crush effect. So you really want to push that 4 damage if you can. If your opponent is able to block with 2 cards from their hand, typically a 3 defense, like right there. Block 2 cards, 8 minus the 6 is going to be 2. Crush isn't going to take into effect. They take 2 damage. Whoopity-doo. This cost of 4 is combined really well with Bravo's ability that costs 2. So you can pitch 2 blue cards. Here we go. To produce enough resources to pay for Bravo, giving the next card you play with 3 or more resources Dominate. And here's Buckling Blow for the remaining 4 resources that you have. So now this is coming in for 8, and they can only block with 1 card from hand. The defending hero can't defend the attack with more than 1 card from hand. Now they can play something out of arsenal, like a defense reaction. So you want to be cognizant of what your opponent's arsenal situation is. There are cards that mess with their arsenal as well, which we might touch on. But you want to be able to capitalize on this ability, specifically when they have nothing in their arsenal and they can possibly only defend with 1 card from hand. And that way you're going to get that Buckling Blow. Or I should say that Crush attack. That Crush trigger. So a lot of the costs of some of these cards will be conducive to pitching. So here's like Cartilage Crush. Costs 3. Spend the other 2 here. You'll have 1 left over if you need to use it for anything. If you happen to get your hands on Legendary for Guardian, that's a great use of your remaining resource. But yeah, so Dominate is what you're really trying to do with the Guardian, and you're trying to get those crush effects going. This is also your attack action cards specifically attack action cards. So this will not work on your Anothos if you're going to attack with your Anothos. So be aware of that as well. This just gives it 2 attack action cards. This is not an attack action. Has nothing down here that says action. So it will not work with Anothos. But Anothos is great to be able to do something else on your turn and be able to come in for some additional damage should you need it. So you're trying to use Bravo to really push damage on some of your cards. Let's get into those cards in question. Before we do that, we're going to take a look at some of your equipment choices in this deck. The namesake card from Welcome to Wraith for the Guardian is the Helm of Eisen's Peak, giving you an option, if you have an extra action point, to pay 1 to increase your intelligence for the turn by 1. Intelligence is in the bottom right or bottom left-hand corner of your hero, right down here. That's your maximum hand size. So if you're trying to set up for a big turn, this is a great card to do that prior. Maybe you had a really big defensive turn where you had to use a lot of cards. You could spend your turn, pay 1, increase your intelligence, draw up to 5 cards, arsenal of cards, so you have 6 to give you some gas for the next turn. That's your head slot. You also have a couple options in your chest slot. Good old Iron Rot Plate. Sometimes you need that defense value down there. Let's say you don't. You do have the option to use the Heart and Cross Strap. You can destroy this to make your next attack action card cost 2 less to play. So if you're trying to set up a really big turn and you just can't quite get the, let's say, 5 resources for Disable, you could bring it down to 3, allowing you to get this awesome card out. Heart and Cross Strap, really cool card. Your arm equipment, you've got Goliath Gauntlet. You can destroy it. The next attack action card that costs 2 or greater, which is most of your cards. I will say, without the lists in front of me, I think every card from Guardian, at least in regards to attacks, it costs more than 2. So this is just a slam dunk. Pushes that damage. Again, if you have something that you definitely want the crush effect to hit, you got Cartilage Crush coming in. You definitely want that 4 damage to go through. Bring it up to 9. A lot easier to get that damage through. And of course, if you play against an arcane user like the Runeblade or the Wizard, if you do not know what arcane damage is, be sure to check out the Learn to Play on your starter deck. Scan that QR code, check out what arcane damage is, but this gives you some defense against the mystical arts, if you will. And then in your leg slot, again, you got another Null Rune piece of equipment and an Iron Rot piece of equipment. There's a lot of situations, especially things like Dominate, that could stop you from playing cards from hand, or maybe Brute takes all the cards out of your hand with Intimidate. It's good to have equipment that you can still defend with. That is our equipment for the Guardian. Alright guys, let's go over some of the cards that you're going to find in your Bravo Guardian starter deck. First things first, some of the rares. You've got Disable here. This is going to be one of your main attackers. You've got a resource cost of 5 on Disable. Big power, 7 and 9 respectively for the blue and the red. You are trying to get this crush effect to go through. Deals 4 more damage. Put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of their owner's deck. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, where you can get those arsenals, get those cards out of their arsenal. This is big against anyone that utilizes their arsenal, like Tome of Fyrandel. The Ranger utilizes their arsenal a lot. And just anyone that might be saving a combo card for the next turn. Disable is a huge card to stop that. Now, there is a little bit of strategy when it comes to the resource costs. You're looking at 5. Let's say you wanted to use your Bravo ability, which you're thinking that you might not be able to, or it's not very efficient, because the ability is 2. So 5 and 2 is 7. So if you were going to pitch 3 cards to Disable, you might feel like you're wasting some of those resources. I say that you aren't, especially if you're utilizing your arsenal properly, but there's plenty of cards in this deck that you can use that have go again. So something like a Blessing of Deliverance, you could pay 2 to get this out into the arena, gets go again, and this is something that can set you up for next turn. There's your 2. You can then use Bravo for another 2. That's 4, plus the 5 here, that's 9. So there's your 3 pitched blue cards. Other cards, again, setting you up for the next turn. Something like a Stonewall Confidence, which we will touch on in the later part of this video. And things like Emerging Power to, again, set you up for the next turn. So don't look at this cost as prohibitive. It's just a way that you can not only attack, but also get an aura out into the field that is going to set you up on the next turn. Also, that we will touch again, one of the strongest cards that you could play, I believe, in Guardian is a card called Pummel, which just so happens to cost 2. There's also some of that mind game where when you pitch 3 blues to pay for this and you have 2 resources left over, they might think that you've got a Pummel coming. So you can play some mind games with your opponent there as well. So that is Disable in the rare slot. You also have, while we're talking about spending 9 resources, you've got in Crucible of War, the Towering Titan cards. So these are an aura that really takes a turn off, but next turn, your attack's going to be +8. So talk about a death knell, a great card to play in the beginning of the battle, or when your opponent has exhausted a lot of their resources, something to really finish them off. You've got that. You also have, as a defense reaction, Staunch Response. So for 2, with the option to buff it, you can defend for 5 or 6, depending on the color here. But you could also pump some more resources if you need to increase that number. So if somebody's coming like the Brute with an Alpha Rampage, that's going to be for 9. Well, 6 and 3 is 9, and you have to discard 6 resources, or pitch 6 resources to pay for that defense reaction. But blanking a 9 attack could be really beneficial. Also have Blessing of Deliverance that you guys saw just a second ago. Blessing of Deliverance, firstly, draws you a card. So it replaces itself typically, because it says when you have a card in your pitch zone at 3 or greater, draw a card. Well, you're probably going to pitch something that costs 3 or greater resources. Even a yellow card, something like a Buckling Blow, if you were to pitch this, it costs 4. So that is going to trigger that ability. You're going to draw a card, which is going to replace itself, which is great, so that you can continue your turn, because you do have Go again. And the next turn, you're going to look at the top card of your deck. If it costs 3 or more, that card, you're going to gain a life. So that is very beneficial. We talk about it all the time, that this is a game of inches, and it really is. Sometimes just getting 1 life or 2 life on a turn is what separates you from winning and losing. Last but not least, we got a couple generic cards in here. Speaking of gaining life, we got Sigil of Solace. As an instant, gains you 3 life. There's some instances where you cannot block, or your opponent thinks you may block or not block. You can play as an instant, gain 3 life, set your opponent on their back foot. This energy potion, if you take a turn off, get it into the field, you can destroy this to gain those 2 resources. That 2 resources is going to be really beneficial for some of those blow-up turns. Those are the rares in the starter deck. All right, let's take a look at some of the commons that you're going to be receiving here in the starter deck. One of your bread and butter attacks is going to be your Buckling Blow. It's got that cost of 4 that is really beneficial to use with Bravo's ability to get you up to 6 resources for the 2 abilities, Bravo and this attack right here. Going to give you 8. Bravo's going to give you Dominate. You want to be able to crush in, put a -1 counter on their equipment. Really beneficial card, especially with equipment that might destroy when it has -1 counters on it. You've got blue and reds in the deck there. Next up, you've got Cartilage Crush. You'll notice a lot of blues in Guardian decks because you have those high resource costs. Cartilage Crush increases the cost of their next attack action during the next turn when you crush by 1. So sometimes that 1 really ruins their plan. We've said it before, we'll say it again. Game of inches. If you increase a card that costs 3 to 4, that's a whole nother card that they're probably losing out of their hand in order to pay for that 4. Could be huge. Next up, we've got Crush Confidence. We've got 2 of each color in the deck here. Crush Confidence. If it crushes, they lose all hero card effects and activated abilities. So this is really relevant for the ninja who has an ability to go search cards. This stops that. Essentially turns their text box blank. Against the mirror, they're not able to dominate you. against Rhinar. They can't intimidate you, stuff like that. Really shuts down Dorinthia as a warrior. She can't make the Dawnblade attack again. Super good card. That's why you got 2 of each inside the deck. Next, we've got Debilitate. 3 red ones. If it deals 4 or more, the next attack next turn is -2. Really cool card, especially for things like Mechanologist, who is shooting you for 2 with the pistol, or anyone that has a go wide strategy where they attack you multiple times, like the ninja. But even then, just think of that as 1 card less out of your hand. Again, you've got that 4 resource cost. Pairs well with Bravo. Next, we'll get into some cards for auras. There's a lot of really good auras for the Guardian. The first being Emerging Power. So this is a great setup card. And the fact that it has Go Again allows you to kind of use some of those resources that might otherwise be wasted. So a good turn for you will be Emerging Power for 2, and then possibly something like a Debilitate. If you have more cards in your hand, feel free to add Bravo's ability on top of this, but this is a great 6 resource. Pitch a couple blues. Not only are you coming in for 8, forcing something then, but next turn, you're coming in for 3 additional. Let's say you had another Debilitate. Well, now that's 11. So Guardian's all about swinging, but also setting yourself up for the next turn. That's why you have a big playset. And just like with any of these decks, you'll notice there's only 2 yellows in here. The 3rd yellow is in your sideboard. If you really want to go all in on Emerging Power, you can do so. We also have Stonewall Confidence. We've got the red ones. Again, that 2 cost resource is really beneficial. Gives you Go Again, so you can play this right before you attack. Cards you control with 3 or greater, with cost 3 or greater, gain +4. So something like most of your attacks. We'll use Crush the Weak right here, cost 3. So this is going to defend normally for 3, but with Stonewall Confidence in the field, +4. So this is a great card to use when you know your opponent is maybe setting up. They put something in Arsenal. Maybe they've got Fyendal Spring Tunic about to hit. You know that they're going to have a big turn. Throw one of these out here. Any card that you play is probably going to block for 6 at least. Stonewall Confidence, super cool. If you want to play more of a defensive Guardian, you have the full playset of those in your side deck. From Crucible of War, our little preview is Crush the Weak. Comes in for 7. You got a 3 cost, which is a really nice number. When it deals 4 or more, they can't play attack action cards with 3 or less base power. Crush the Weak shuts down Ninja, shuts down a lot of the go-wide Mechanologists. Anyone that has smaller attacks, this is really going to hurt them. So, awesome card. Great to throw Bravo's ability on top of this so that they can only defend them with 1. Most cards only defend for 3, unless it's a defense reaction. So 7 minus the 3 gets you that Crush 4 number. Really helps you out with that. Use this wisely. And last but not least, we've got some good generic cards. We already showed you the Pummels. Feel free to add some additional Pummels to this deck, especially the red ones. What you're really trying to do is not necessarily crush with all this damage, but you're able to get +2 to anything, and when you hit, you discard a card. So if you can give +2 to a card, and this is on the blue, yellows are obviously +3, reds will be +4. But if you can give any of your crush cards an additional +2 and a discard, not only are you probably going to do an old gotcha, but not only are you going to get that crush effect, but you're also going to get a discarded card. So if they blocked with 2 cards to stop the crush, you come over the top with a Pummel, get that 4 damage, get that crush effect, and discard a card. That's probably a wasted turn for them. And that is awesome. And that last card that you take out of their hand is probably the one they wanted to keep. Not for nothing. Pummels, great card. Slogism, great for blue as a resource. Feel free to pitch this at the beginning of your turn or the beginning of the game, because when it comes back later, the next attack action card you cost 2 or greater gets +4. Go again. Awesome card to do in conjunction with something like Crush the Weak that costs 3. Pitch a couple blues. Slogism, Crush the Weak, coming in for 11. To go with Slogism, you've got Regurgitating Slog. As disgusting as that might sound, but it has an additional effect here. As an additional cost to play Regurgitating Slog, you can banish a card named Slogism from your graveyard. If you do this, gets Dominate. So play Regurgitating Slog for 2, maybe use that additional 1 or the additional resources for something else. This is also a great card at the end of the game when you don't really have a lot left, but those slogisms are in your discard. You can play Regurgitating Slog, get rid of that thing, put Dominate on it, coming in for 6 or 4, depending on which one you play. Then last but not least, we got a couple generic defense reactions. You got your Springboard Somersault, Yellow Variety, as a 1-of. If played from your arsenal, it gets additional +2, so that's a great card that blocks 4. Unmovable, same thing. Out of the arsenal, it's going to go up 1, but Unmovable will block 5. So great option, especially if you yourself are being dominated. Play 1 card Unmovable, blocks for 5. Not bad. Those are the cards in your constructed deck. Alright guys, so now ways to upgrade this deck with additional cards that you might have from your collection or that you've traded for, or maybe you bought some packs. One of the big ones that everyone's going to see is the Bravo Specialization, Crippling Crush. That is just a big 11 damage attack. It has that 7 resource, which enables you to throw Bravo's ability right on the back end of it, because that gives you 9. Pitch 3 blue cards, get Dominate on it. Here comes Crippling Crush, in for 11. It's probably going to crush. They're going to discard 2 random cards, random being the keyword. Huge ability. If you're looking at something that might not be in the Majestic and probably really affordable, Showtime is a great card. Again, another Bravo Specialization. When it enters the arena, you search your deck for a Guardian attack action. You reveal it and put it into your hand, and then you shuffle. But then next turn, you get to draw a card because this gets destroyed. So it's a great way to set up for a future turn. You can go find the card that you're looking for, like Crippling Crush, put it into your arsenal, know that next turn you're going to draw an additional card, which is probably read as additional resources, in order to make sure that you get that crush off. Maybe you've got a red card in your hand, you need more resources, you can do that. Another good card that I like is Spinal Crush. Really shuts down classes like the Ninja. If it happens to crush, any attacks that they control lose and can't gain go again. Shuts down a lot of Ninja stuff because they have a lot of go agains. Shuts down the Kodachis. Shuts down Mechanologist, who's trying to boost. Those cards can't get go again. Spinal Crush, really good card just to come in for 9, but super niche in those matches for where you can really put the damage on Mechanologist and Ninja. But other than that, those are a few cards I would be on the lookout for from your local game store, or head to www.unisongamescafe.com, see if we have them in stock. Other than that, this has been the starter strategy video for Bravo Showstopper of the Guardian class. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Flesh and Blood content, and we will see you in the arena.